Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Live from New York, here in Harlem. Hey, this is Alex, and this is the Ramble. And we go until midnight tonight on the East Coast of the United States, which is currently in a kind of turmoil because, well, what can I say? It's, it's in turmoil. That's all I can say. For this election. As though everything else this year hasn't been turning this country upside down, this election takes the cake, okay? But yesterday we had a pre-recorded interview that we did the day before with an old friend of this program who stopped calling it for a while, so I reached out to him and said, let's talk. And he said, no, not on your life. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Anyway, tonight I figured we'd do him live right here. Because I called you about a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what do you think of the clusterfuck? And that's really what this is turning out to be. Although it was kind of predicted, that because of, let's face it, we have a new way of voting in this country that was brought on by COVID, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people want to vote safely.
I think it's a convenient way to vote, and as long as it's legitimate and they haven't mixed in other things, I think that supervision isn't a bad idea. Mm-hmm. And although it sounds a little bit like sour grapes at this point, it looks like I'm into Bob for $20. It's fairly inevitable. Last night things were fine. I got up pretty early this morning, and I started watching, and I started seeing everything kind of turn as they started counting these additional ballots.
Well, wasn't this the way it was kind of predicted already?
Well,
because. For months, we've been saying, hey, the first returns that come in are going to be going Trump's way.
Right.
And then when the second wave comes in, the stuff that was mailed in and so on and so forth, it's going to go Biden's way. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. Although, I don't think that, mail-in voting is such a bad thing. I've been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm.
And, I applied for a ballot. And they send it to me every year. It's convenient.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I don't on the day of that you can vote. I sometimes don't have time, but this way I know I'm guaranteed that I can look it over,
mm-hmm.
pull it out, send it in.
Well, I did the early voting.
Yeah.
We went in. I think it was about a week ago. And cast our vote, and we felt really good about it. It was a great feeling, and having a week to do it. I think and doing this early voting is a pretty damn good idea,
Yeah. Other things that were predicted, though, I think the pollsters are going to have to, ask themselves if they should quit their day job, because, many of the polls, I think they said, which state did they say that Biden had it by 17%? And he had it by a few thousand votes. Was that Wisconsin?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's happening is the polls aren't accurate anymore. And then I was watching, and they had Van Jones. Now, Van Jones, I think, was in the Obama White House. Mm-hmm. And he was
by the way, a very nice guy. I've had him on my show.
He was saying that he was disappointed that it wasn't a rout because it really didn't say that the country was unhappy with Trump because it was so close. And, I understand what he's saying. You
No,
know,
I felt this.
communicate him.
I said this last night, the same thing. That even if Biden wins, I'm disappointed with what I've been seeing here.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, can I use this bully pulpit for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I have a Trump coin here that I'm probably going to be able to maybe sell if it has a little bit of value. I also have the hat,
Yeah.
slightly worn, and I have the picture that's personalized to me. You know, what do you think I can get for this? You know?
Well, I'd sell it soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because Arizona flipped on him, and that really hurt him. I do have this Goldwater for president.
You know what amazes me? Trump got really mad. He supposedly phoned Rupert Murdoch
Yeah.
and yelled at him for Fox calling Arizona. Now it's funny that Fox called Arizona, where to this moment MSNBC has yet to call Arizona.
Well, the shot caller that Fox uses, I forgot his name, but he said he was very confident in his call for Arizona. But did you notice that Nevada was once called for Biden, and then they pulled it back? That was interesting. That
Doesn't really matter how many votes are there.
6, and that's and if Trump wins North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, and Alaska, those were the ones earlier that were still open. Plus Nevada, that would put him at 273, I think.
Yeah.
So without Nevada, he is at 267, and doesn't have.
Well, you know where he's dropping like a rock, Trump?
No.
Georgia.
Really?
He was like 600,000 ahead, and now he's only like 120,000 ahead, and they still haven't counted something like 800,000 votes, which a lot of these late votes always go Biden's way. So he may very easily get Georgia, which would be very unusual.
Well, if Biden takes Georgia, then of course Trump doesn't have any hope unless he tried to validate the results.
And pundits who look at what's happening say that Pennsylvania will be Biden's by at least 150,000 votes.
Well, the math that Lewandowski and a few other people were using was saying that based on the last.
Or did I see 1.5 million? I can't remember, but it was a large amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but there's nothing wrong with having someone represent in the poll to make sure that the votes are legitimate.
Oh, absolutely. We have no argument with that, But like Trump last night at 2:00 in the morning, he held a little party, okay, and then he said, "I'm really mad because my party's been ruined because of the way they're reporting all of this. I wanted to be, having festivities right now and drinking champagne, and I'm not going to be able to do it." And I'm going, what? Is that what you're mad about? Is that?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I mean, it was amazing. And then him saying that, and he's asking that the voting be stopped. I guess it goes along with his theory that if you don't test for COVID, then there isn't any COVID. Well, if you don't have any votes voting, I guess you've won.
No. What he wanted was, I think he wanted them to stop it so he could put observers in the poll, as they open up the letters or the ballots. So,
do you know that they're so transparent in a lot of these states right now that you can actually go on a TV channel and see them working on the vote.
Well,
okay,
I can't, as much as I like Trump, I cannot believe that there is this large of conspiracy in the vote. I mean, I don't like Biden. I wonder, Kamala Harris always kind of giggles and laughs and
It's pronounced Kamala.
yeah, well, maybe she was in on the conspiracy.
Mhm.
She kind of wouldn't answer any questions. She just kind of giggles her way through. But
Well, I think she's I know as the head of Antifa, which I've announced that I am.
yeah,
She's our vice president of
yes,
Antifa.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you have your Antifa card, right?
yeah, somewhere. I don't know where exactly. You know.
But I'm surprised that he lost. I really thought that he was going to win. Now I know that he's not admitting that he lost yet, but it's pretty obvious. Michigan, Biden only needs 6. So
Well,
if he,
that's if you give him Arizona. MSNBC, who you would think would be jumping the gun on all of this, has not yet given Arizona to him.
oh,
But they
I,
feel there's a good shot that he's getting Arizona because the late votes that come in, the ones that are tabulated because they were mailed in, and so they were doing them last rather than the stuff that were done at polling places,
yeah.
have always been falling on the Biden side. So
What about
they think that's probably the way it's going to go in Arizona. But MSNBC is you have to call for him. Yet Fox has, and Politico has. So they all say he's within what 6 votes, 3 votes,
6?
6 votes
Yeah.
of
Well, at least what Fox is reporting, because that's the one I've been watching. There was a map that you could look at that didn't have anything to do with Fox. One of my salespeople was looking at it today, and we were talking about it,
Mhm.
and that showed Biden 6 away. So uh, now, as far as Arizona goes, he's in the lead there, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in the lead. It's not by a lot. But, we haven't gotten that last influx of votes, which are all basically coming from Maricopa, where he did very well already. And they think that the late voting is going to really put him over the top there. So
Now, when do the military ballots get open?
they get open a week later, something like that. I don't know that because they're spread out among, 50 states, if they amount to that much, you know, they might be a handful in each city.
Uh,
Uh, you
oh,
know,
they don't go to a base, or
well,
I'm
what I'm
not.
saying is that if you're living in the United States and you report to a base every day, but you live off base,
Yeah.
you're just going to vote at a normal polling place, or you're going to vote at the base. But this is just people who are overseas, you
Right.
know.
I don't, now to Trump's detriment, he
Mhm.
brought so many people out of Iraq and Afghanistan. Those guys could have voted for him, and would have.
Yeah. Also, I read, and this was on Drudge, that, and I don't know that this is true. But I suppose it is. Supposedly, Biden has received more votes than any other candidate in history.
Yeah. Well, 67% of the voting populace have voted? Is it 67?
It's a large amount. I don't know the number, but it's
That's, like 40% more than what we normally get.
right.
Isn't it usually about 45,
Yeah.
40%?
Yeah. So,
And
but I mean, I just think that, and when you're saying, so if right now you had to take that $20 that you now owe Robert, or probably will owe Robert, and place it somewhere else, would you place it against Trump?
uh, what do you mean
In
against
other
Trump?
words, do you think he's going to lose this?
Uh, I don't like to give up.
Okay,
Winston
you don't
Churchill.
like to give up. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, do you think he's going to lose?
I don't think he has a chance in hell of staying in the White House, and he better start pardoning some people pretty fast,
Yeah.
and appoint as many judges as possible. And I am very thankful for the mark that he has left on the presidency. Yeah, I think it was a positive thing. The judges, the Ninth Circuit Court judges that he put in, uh, and I'm
Yeah, but
you know
that, you know something, to me, that it all pales in comparison to the whole COVID thing and the way he handled it, which was abysmal. It was abysmal.
his communication was poor, but I look at it and I don't think he did a bad job.
Well,
Uh,
you know, I mean, for instance, not wearing a mask sent a bad message to everybody. You know, there are things he could have done. You see, I think he lost because of COVID. All
oh
right.
yeah,
And I think that he could have won because of COVID, but he
you're
wasn't a smart enough politician and he didn't have the empathy to do anything about it. And he didn't know what to do about it.
have
And
you
he
know
wouldn't, and by the way, he wouldn't listen to anybody who knew what to do about it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, have you noticed that when he speaks that he has an issue with his nose and breathing? People in 2016 thought he was on coke. Uh, because he
Hmm.
goes like that through his nose.
Hmm. Yeah.
Do you think that that's why he didn't want to wear a mask? Maybe he's got a breathing issue.
Well, if you do, there are other ways of handling, or you can at least say, I would wear a mask more often, but I have breathing problems. Okay.
Yeah.
For instance, Ronnie, while she was still alive, said to me that, you know, she hated wearing masks only because she had COPD and it was harder for her to breathe.
Yeah.
Okay. But she would wear them for a short amount of time, but when she wasn't near anybody, she would lower them.
Hmm.
Um, he could have accommodated for that. What he did is he didn't set an example to the rest of the country, and he turned not wearing a mask into a political issue, which it should have never become.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
he made he made some mistakes with COVID. I think he did a lot of good things, but on the other hand, yes, he could have been more empathetic. He could have worn a mask.
I don't
Uh,
think, to be honest with you, and I'm not saying this because I dislike the man. I just think he at some point in his life he had an empathy bypass. I mean, I
uh,
don't think he knows how to be empathetic. I've never seen once in the entire time he's been president a sign of any empathy.
well, I watched him in some of those rallies, and he was very nice to a number of the people that were
Yeah, no,
there.
but that's not empathy. You
I
know,
understand.
I mean,
It's
when you let's be honest about it.
concern.
You may not like Biden, but there is a real feeling of him having a large amount of empathy for people.
You mean when he calls people ugly and pony-faced dog something or others, and
Oh, I don't know about that. I never heard that he said that, but you
oh,
know,
come on, I saw it on the thing. I sent you an email today
uh,
with two
yeah,
things. One was a clip
yeah.
uh, of Biden disparaging Indian 7-Eleven and Dunkin' Donut owners, and and the other was an article about Obama and we won, you lost thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you opened it.
Well, you know, I just think that I think Biden, you know, you say you don't like the guy, but you got to admit that he handled this whole running for president thing pitch perfect.
Yeah, he stayed in his basement,
Well, not he got out of his basement after a while.
and he stopped sniffing little girls' hair.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, uh, he's we'll see how he does.
yeah. I mean, if at least he can calm the waves a little bit, stop the hatred that everybody has for each other. You know, by trying to put in some semblance of decency.
I don't think the
Yeah.
hate's going away.
You don't think
I
it's going away?
oh, I think the right is going to step into the left's shoes, and that we haven't seen the beginning of divisiveness that we've had for the last 4 years.
Mm, well,
Uh, the Republicans are going to keep the Senate.
yeah,
They
yeah.
picked up what 5 seats in the House. That's not enough,
No.
but they're going to keep the Senate, and that that is going to cause some issues with Biden.
However, Biden, having been a senator, kind of knows how to play that game better than Trump ever did.
Well,
You
it's
know,
possible.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Obama brought him on as vice president, to do exactly that duty. It's the reason that JFK brought on LBJ, was because this was a guy who knew how to work with Congress. He could play Congress like a well-tuned violin, and it didn't matter whether they were on his side or not.
Well,
He'd just call them up and say, "You're going to do this."
I understand, but LBJ was a different kind of politician than
Yeah.
Biden. LBJ did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
What has Biden done? I mean, this is what Trump said. What's he done in the last
Well,
47 years?
What's Trump done in the last 47
Well, he's done a lot,
years?
a lot of stuff I like, but look at Biden's record. He sponsored some sort of bill that put blacks in jail.
Yeah. No, hey,
he-
listen. Look, not a perfect guy. My choice for president? No. But when I pulled the lever, so to speak, on him, or filled in the little oval, the little dot, I didn't feel bad about it. And I can't say that's not true with a lot of other people that I voted for. I just voted for them because they were the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. Well, if he's going to be president, which it is pretty obvious that he is, let him do his thing. I mean, I'm not going to, like I said last night, I'm not going to go down and burn down a building or stop traffic or loot a store because I'm unhappy with who's in the White House.
Well, I'm just mad that maybe Trump isn't going to win because I can't go out and loot a store now. Yeah.
Well, you can.
I can. I'll work on it. Anyway, hey, listen. We got to go to our normal people here. I love doing this with you, and I hope you call the show. And if you don't, we'll then call you and do these things.
Well, I like this. It's the screaming back and forth and the I want to put a bullet in them and I want to do this.
Yeah. That was Tony last night. I expected the Secret Service to be at my doorstep this morning, but
he's hiding.
Yeah.
But they when they went into the kitchen and they saw that wallpaper, they had to leave right away.
Well, let me just leave you with my wish for you, that your guy doesn't win. How's that?
Well, I hope he does, but it doesn't look good at the moment.
Well, when you say it doesn't look good, it really doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. Let's talk again soon.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. That's our good friend. And I want to talk to him tonight because this thing is not over with. Okay. It's just starting up. Okay. All right, it's time now for us to go to our panel, who are starting to form like crust on bread. Let me see here. Are they there? Okay, let me see here. There they go. There's Charlie and there's Brian. Hello. I guess if Phil feels that he probably is losing, he's losing.
Yeah, that was pretty strange to hear him say that.
Well, you know Phil personally, and you know that he really is not a terrible guy.
No. He is very nice and
and here comes Robert, and Robert is now $20 richer, I think.
Hey, I got a proposal about that. I was listening to Phil just now. I suggest that if I lose and there's still a chance, I will certainly pay my bet. However, if I win, my proposal to Phil is, rather than going through the self-addressed envelope and all that shit and going through you, if Phil were to give me his word, it would be good enough for me if he were to donate that $20 to the American Cancer Society in the name of Ronnie Bennett. I think that would satisfy the bet, and I think it would be an outstanding
I will pass
thing
that message along to him. Yeah. Isn't it interesting when Phil isn't in the midst of the citizen panel, he's much more civil. Yeah.
No comment.
He's still wrong.
He's still wrong, but that, Yes, Jeff.
If you take forget about the show, if you talk to Phil directly, he's a wonderful guy.
I'll
And
bet
he
he
can
is.
talk about a whole variety of things.
Yeah.
Very fun guy. But the problem is he believes all this Trump bullshit and Fox TV crap, and he thinks that's reality.
Well, I mean, he's not alone. I mean, as I said last night, I think the thing that, even if Biden wins this, I'm going to be disappointed because there were too many people that voted for Trump.
Yeah.
That presented with a guy who acts in very immoral ways. I mean, come on, the Stormy Daniels thing, and I can touch him on the pussy. Forget about that part of it. If you want to add to that his lack of empathy and his lack of being able to handle the COVID crisis, and we could go on, how you can still, after all of that, even as a stupid American, vote for him is beyond me. I mean, you thought maybe, electing an outsider would make things different. Well, it did, but not in the way you thought it would. And now it's time for you to say, hey, I was wrong. This time I'm going to vote for Biden. I don't like Biden. I've never voted for a Democrat in my life, but I just don't want this guy to do any more damage to this country. I mean, Biden isn't my first choice, but the fact of the matter is that at least I think for 4 years we'll have a little peace and quiet, hopefully. Yes, Charlie.
And plus, I'm sorry, Phil, Biden was in the Senate for what, 37 or 40 years or whatever? He did do something. You don't hang around for 40 years doing nothing.
Well, also, let me put it this way. Trump had no record when he ran for president. All he had was a TV show and notoriety. Biden spent all that time in the Senate and had a voting record and had things that he did, some of which weren't good, okay? But, you give him that much time in the Senate, and he's going to make some mistakes, all right? So anyway.
The Violence Against Women Act is one thing that Biden did that was good.
Yeah. I mean,
for the average person.
Look, we go back to that. What was that hearing with, what's her name? Where?
Yeah, Anita Hill.
Anita Hill. That was embarrassing, okay?
Yep.
And a lot of people this day still hold that against him.
Oh, yeah.
And they should. But when you're in the public eye that long and you're working as a public servant that long, you're gonna make mistakes. And somehow they come home to roost when you're running for president. So
I also think we don't allow here in America, we don't allow people to evolve. Obama, for example, was on record at some point in his past talking about gay marriage.
He was against it.
He was against it. Yeah. Now, do you hold it against him that he once felt that way? Or do you give the man credit for having evolved and read the tea leaves about the arc of history, and about the arc of justice?
Well, also, he's even said, I was wrong on that one, and now I'm for it, but Trump wouldn't do that because Trump doesn't want to admit to mistakes. That's the problem.
He would never say he was wrong.
If somebody's willing to admit to his mistakes, hey, I'll vote for him in a second, and I don't care whether he's left or right, because at least he's willing to own up to his mistakes. Trump is never wrong. Trump is not losing right now. In his mind, he's being cheated out of the presidency.
Yeah.
Well, yes, there was somebody who plotted against him to be president again, and that was Donald Trump. He's the one who screwed it up. So, whatever. Yes, Jeff.
I think the fact that Biden has higher numbers right now, he doesn't necessarily going to be the winner of this thing.
You're
These
right.
numbers are very tight.
Well, the numbers are tight, but the fact of the matter is, it's on who you believe. MSNBC did not call Arizona for Biden yet.
I noticed that, and a lot of people did.
But Fox has,
Right.
Drudge has, Politico has, and that places Biden 6 electoral votes away from being
Nevada
president.
away.
Huh?
Okay, but where do you
That's it.
get the
All he needs
6
is
point?
Nevada.
He's Nevada away. Associated Press had Arizona last night at about 1:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they're not wrong, though. I agree with
It doesn't
Jeff.
mean they're not wrong. What they're saying is they don't want to say it yet, but what they have said is that the votes that are coming in, that are going to come in, are the ones that were mailed in, and those votes they think will go Biden's way. That they will be very heavily Biden. So, that's about it actually. So.
Andy's catching up in Georgia, and a lot of the votes that are waiting are in Atlanta, the Atlanta County area,
Yeah.
and that's heavily Democratic.
Right.
That'd be nice if we got Georgia too, because then that really separates him and Trump. If Trump gets all those other states, it's going to be a 270 to 268, I think.
Yeah.
So then he's going to cry about it and say something, But if
How many
Georgia,
points does Georgia actually get by itself?
About 16.
16, I think.
16,
Yeah.
16.
16.
So that'd be a nice little bump there to shut up Trump.
Yeah,
Well,
but
if he
the
got
thing,
that in Arizona, I think he's got it.
oh, he's got it. He's got more than he needs if he does that. If he's got,
But if Trump gets the other ones, he's only up by 2. And I know he wins, but I'm just saying it's very close, and Trump's going to try to get something overturned.
and they say that
Change that.
Yeah, last night Biden gave a speech, and he said, "Don't worry, we think we're going to win this thing.
Yes.
Not
right.
because we're being optimistic for the sake of being optimistic, but because we know how many votes are outstanding." And if you remember back, we all said that election night was going to look like a win for Trump.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that the next morning we would wake up and find out it was the other way around because
That's
all
right.
those other votes came in from people who voted in advance. And that's exactly what's happening. In Georgia now, he is.
It was 33,000.
Huh?
Yeah. 31,000 behind.
He's 31,000 behind, and there's still something like what?
Oh, yeah.
Just a ton of votes to come in from
Yeah.
from Montgomery. Excuse me,
Hartsville.
from what's the main city? Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
And so that's going to be a big deal. I think that he's probably going to win Georgia. They say, the people who are on Biden's side, that there's a good chance he could win Pennsylvania by
Pennsylvania. Because
Oh
of
my
the
God.
ton of votes waiting to come in from
by an
Philadelphia.
amazing amount.
Yep.
By an amazing amount.
Harville says 150,000. Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
by 150,000.
Yeah.
So-
See, now, I want those for this reason. I want those because if he wins Pennsylvania and or Georgia, it makes the recount in Wisconsin a moot point.
Yeah.
And it
Yep.
diffuses that whole bunch of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Too many places for him to try and
Exactly.
get him, and then he's yeah. I
Shut
agree.
up and go home. Lose like a man.
Exactly. Exactly.
I tried to get an answer
Start packing.
just today about what happens if they come out equal.
Well, then it goes to
Goes to the House.
it goes to the House.
Goes to the house.
Goes to the House is what Pam told me so.
Yeah. So that problem is solved.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good. I'll take it.
Yeah.
There's no way it could come out even with the
No.
states that are there. No way.
But it's going to be. I hope that the whole thing comes out the way we want it to. It looks good, and last night I went to bed kind of depressed. I had to take a Xanax to go to sleep. I was so and
It's a long time for me to go to sleep.
and then I felt like shit all day as a result of it. But I woke up this morning and I turned on the TV set. What? He took Wisconsin?
He stayed up till 4 in the morning.
And then a couple of hours later, I hear Michigan.
That's right.
And I'm going, okay,
that's big numbers.
we're in the game. And you know that except for one brief moment last night, Biden has always been out front in this whole thing. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see him win Georgia. I'd like to see him win Pennsylvania. I'd like to see him win, was it South Carolina as we're talking about? North Carolina. And I'd like to see him win Arizona and Nevada and just make Trump feel like crap.
That would put him over 300 electoral votes.
Put himself way over 300. And you're right. If he can take Georgia, if he can take Pennsylvania, then go ahead, sue in Wisconsin. It doesn't matter. You're wasting your time. But he's going to sue in Pennsylvania, and he's going to sue in Georgia. But what's he suing for? He's suing for them to stop the tallying of the votes. You can't do that. Even the Supreme Court will tell him, get your ass out of here.
They were talking about stopping the vote in Michigan, in Michigan when he was behind, and so they're going, yeah, okay, sure, we'll stop the vote. You're behind.
Stop the count. Yeah, the count. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stop. We'll be happy to stop the vote in Nevada, stop the vote in Arizona. Take the results from there. Okay,
I'm here tonight to announce that I won the Boston Marathon.
Huh? What?
Here to announce tonight that I've won the Boston Marathon.
Right.
Yeah.
You start a block.
Doesn't that just top off Trump? I mean, his first lie was, 3.5 million people at his inaugural, and his last lie would be, I won the election.
I won the election.
Not on a high note.
Yeah.
Well, he is not going to go easily. And I'm worried about the next 90 days, okay?
Yeah, me too.
If Biden wins, because he can do a lot of damage in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, just by doing nothing. Today, what is it? We hit
100,000, yeah.
105,000 cases of COVID today.
I don't think Biden's going to be quiet. I think Biden's going to, you heard him today. He sounded very presidential already, and I think he's going to start talking to everybody and say, we've got to work together. We need to start doing this mass stuff, and got to start doing some of these things. You could hear him in his voice today about, I'm not winning as a Democrat. I'm winning I'm going to, run as an American. And I think he's going to start gearing everybody already.
I'm going to be the president of all America. They've got on MSNBC right now Trump last night. Did you see that?
I saw that shit live. I almost vomited.
Yeah.
I had to turn it off.
Last night, like 3:30 in the morning.
I had to turn it off.
I thought he was on drugs, man. He was nuts.
I was planning on having a happy party here, but now they won't let me do that because they didn't come in with the votes tonight.
He declared victory. Alex, did you hear Chris Christie last night? He actually had a pair of balls on him last night in the thing. He actually said he shouldn't have said that because he can't stop any vote counting.
No, he can't stop any vote counting. Well, Kevin, hello, Kevin, who's been watching, our poll watcher, Kevin.
Did you cheat in poll watching? Any illegal activity going on?
It got kind of exciting for a while on Saturday.
How'd it get exciting?
We had a poll rally. Shit, I can't even. It's been a long weekend.
He's a little tired.
We had a Trump rally here in town, and about 400 cars got together downtown. We're pretty redneck down here, and they had a big rally downtown, and we had 4 sites in the county. I was running one of them. We ended up being the biggest one, and they decided that they were going to drive around and buzz all the polling sites. And so they went by the county site first, and went by the Veterans Center second, and then went by one of the other sites. And they never went by our site, but they sent the cops out and the whole bit. And I kept getting these alerts. I came home for lunch. I'm about a mile or 2 away from the church that I was at. And I came home for lunch, and they said, "You got to get back there." And so I bolted back over in my truck, and I was standing out there on the highway. We're on it's kind of a back road into town and in and out of town. And I went out there with my truck and blocked the driveway and everything else. And a couple of them went driving by with their trucks and the whole bit. But they never came in. And so I called the county and told them, I didn't see nothing over here and everything's good. And they had made their rounds, and my wife was taking the cat to the veterinary, and they saw them come through there. And
they
stirred up a lot of shit in town.
Wow.
And never came by our place. But I come to find out that the guy that the Republican group out here that was running the whole thing, his daughter was working for me. She was a high school gal, good kid, really good kid, and she was working for me. So I have a feeling they decided not to come by my site because she was there.
Oh boy,
which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cops coming in all the time and everything. It really was, to be honest with you, it was really an exciting election.
Well, something that I don't get. It used to be that on election day, you weren't allowed to do any electioneering on television or radio or whatever.
Well, there is a 100-foot electioneering.
Well, but that's the point. That's the point, because radio and television signal because radio and television signals get everywhere.
Yeah, and you can go right up to that 100-foot mark and do what you want. And I had, when I was watching, of all things, on let's see, it was on election day. We had threats that there was going to be, Republicans coming in and trying to watch the process, quote unquote. And I have a book that I got to follow all these procedures, and one of the procedures is that if you have somebody that's coming in to observe, you have to have them sign in and the whole bit, and whether it's the press or whatever. And I had a couple of people come in, and I was watching because we had a funeral going on at the same time, of all things, and the funeral was going on outdoors. So I had to navigate this flood of cars coming in and a funeral, and I didn't want to disturb the funeral, and it was a big long driveway into the site. So I was moving this whole checkpoint up the driveway to say, what are you going to, the funeral or vote? Funeral or vote?
How long did people have to wait to vote?
In our place, I kept it down to about 3 or 4 minutes, but we had a help desk.
No, I'm talking about in the line.
That's what I'm talking about.
Really?
The line.
Wow.
We were moving them pretty quickly. We had a pretty big site. There was I think we had 16 or 17 voting areas. Half of them were electronic and half of them were paper. And then we had a help desk, but the help desk was backed up, and there was 15 or 20-minute wait. And the help desk was either not registered, you had a problem with your registration, or a first-time registration. And that was backed up quite a bit because people were first-time registering. And that was pretty neat because, kids were walking up and going, I never voted before, I want to vote. And I thought that was neat because, that means that the youngins were getting involved.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, where do you live? Gilroy?
Well, I'm down in Hollister.
Hollister.
San Benito County.
Yeah, I know Hollister, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a pretty big county, and it's got
conservative.
It's pretty democratic, but it has a big hole of conservatives.
Yeah.
And they come out of the woodwork, and there was posts on the those posts on Facebook's like, what are you going to wear for the Civil War tomorrow and stuff like that, on Facebook, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's amazing. If you look at the California vote, it was like, what was it, 75% Biden?
Oh yeah, it was
62
just blue.
at least, yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
even
very
bigger.
blue. And here it was 75%.
And I'll tell you, it was just, and I hate to profile, but you could tell who was voting that day. There was, Tex came in with his pickup truck and, his boots. And
So you would say
came up.
the Trump people did day of, right?
Yeah.
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 It was.
Well, you see, that's why
heavy
that's why they think he's going to take Arizona. Okay.
Yeah, that's California. I don't know if you can see that's California. So you have the northern California was very Republican in Fresno.
Yeah, and we're just in that picture, we're just on the left of that. Yeah.
Where in Northern California? Certainly not up around Mendocino.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's-
it's
Really?
pretty
Reading,
Republican.
all that area up there is Republican.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
I
Mendocino's-
have a friend.
But they've got the
I have a
pot.
friend that has
they've got-
marijuana.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They got the pot.
yeah.
Jersey
They have a
legalized
dispensary, and she's Republican. She's hardcore Republican. I know her from her dad and everything, and she deleted me off Facebook. And I'm like, how could you vote for the Republican and be smoking weed and everything?
It's so out of whack up there. It's funny. It's-
Robert, how'd you feel about this last night? Were you getting depressed over it?
No,
marijuana.
no, because I listen. My part of my livelihood was to trust numbers, and I trusted the numbers, and I knew that the early returns were going to look unfavorable, but I was trusting that in the end, Michigan and Wisconsin were going to start to make things look better. And about 1:30, I was doing a Zoom call with my son who's in China at the moment, and we kind of saw the path about 1:00 in the morning. And at that point, I started to get, I started to feel a whole lot better because it was clear that he was starting to collect some of those votes. And
I'll tell you the person that kept me sane last night, oddly enough, and I haven't liked him up until now, is Steve Kornacki over at MSNBC with his big board. But he was drilling down in such a way that it made everything look a lot better. In other words, he said, don't write off Michigan yet. I mean, look, they haven't even gone into Detroit yet, and here this place hasn't been, and blah, blah, blah. And once these start coming in, the whole thing may turn around. And sure enough, all the things that he said would turn around, turned around.
Well, Carville was good too. When
Yes.
Carville kept saying, put down the razor blades.
That was
Arizona.
perfect.
He was talking us off the ledge last night.
Yeah.
But what's stupid is I suddenly went, God, what a moron I am, because we were saying early on the first wave would be Trump people. Okay. And
and you could tell that might have been set up because, typically Republicans vote on election day, and you can tell that that's what was happening. And I think that's what the quote unquote blue or, the red wave was going to be, because he was trying to hide that and say, okay, surprise, look what happened. But that wasn't quite enough.
He proclaimed himself the winner last night.
He did. And I sat up and watched that. I didn't go to bed until we heard from him, and I was wasted last night. And I waited till he talked, and I looked at that and I went, dude, you're on something, because now that I've seen this, I'm going to bed.
I just got off a call. I just got off a call with China for a new plant over there, and we're only a quick half hour when we end up talking like a lot of politics. But they said that there's a cartoon, I'm sure it's everywhere, but they show all the world has popcorn, and they're all just staring at the U.S.
Oh yeah,
popcorn.
See, I also think on some level, Democrats not only wanted to win, but they wanted blood. And I think when in the first hour, there wasn't a total bloodbath, I think that's where Democrats and left-leaning people started to panic.
Yeah.
Oh my
My
God.
friend up in Oregon.
The bloodbath is
You know, the fantasy wasn't coming true, but the fantasy was unrealistic. You knew there were a lot of Trump voters out there, period.
But the
Well,
bloodbath
the
is the
millions
bloodbath
vote.
is. Wait a minute, hold on a second. The bloodbath is coming because the vote that that's coming out now in sheer numbers. Isn't Biden something like 4 million ahead or something like that in the popular vote?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a resounding throbbing of him. I mean, and I don't think that he's going to win because I don't think he can win the Electoral College and be that far behind.
But you know, Alex, you know what I'd like to see?
Yeah.
Trump outperformed Robert. Did anybody think Trump was going to pull 65 million? I'm in shock over that. He did better drawing this time than last time in a pandemic.
But the numbers were up totally. So
Yeah.
But pre-voting, but that pre-voting was up. We all thought the Democrats were coming for the landslide. When you see pre-early voting,
We figured
all
we were going to
Democratic.
get. We figured we were going to get the Senate, and
The
we
early
did.
voting was all Democratic. He got everybody to go to the polls the day of. It looks like.
You know, it's a shame that we're not going to get the Senate, and we probably lost a few seats in the House. But to get rid of Trump, that's, you know, that's fucking a godsend.
And we can work on getting the Senate in 2 years from now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
was
sorry
so-
to see Lindsey Graham win.
Yeah. Did he
McConnell win.
Mitch McConnell was
Morning.
going to win. It's
Gee.
Kentucky for crying out loud. Those guys
Yeah, but
are.
that-
Those guys
That
are.
candidate was a great candidate. The lady with the Marine background
Yeah.
or the Air Force background.
On the other hand, you got Mark Kelly down in Arizona. He looks like he's going to have it okay. You know.
That's good. Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's,
Alex, did you see Rudy today in Philly?
oh, please.
My mother's dying for him to have a coronary on the air. Those eyes
Yeah,
are going
right.
to shoot out of his fucking head.
He
Holy
is.
shit. He must have so much dirt on Rudy that he's digging so deep a ditch. Yeah, he has no
He says-
credibility with Rudy.
He
None,
says,
zero.
"What do you think? We're so fucking stupid?" And I said, "Yes."
Alex, here's a question.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, you really think these? I mean, of course, we know fraud happens for voting, but do you really think these people inside these halls, these workers who are just working for the day, are taking these votes and just throwing them or getting rid of them? Come on.
Nope,
That
not
is
at all.
Look,
fucking far reach, it isn't
even
funny.
Phil, who usually takes the pro-Trump side, said the notion that this was railroaded, that this was robbed from Trump, is wrong. That people just didn't vote for him. Well, how can I lose? Well, you can lose because you didn't do a good enough job.
The experiment's over.
The experiment's over.
The people that decided to try it decided it didn't work. Let's go back the other way.
And the question is, when he asked, what have you got to lose? Well, you found out now.
Yeah.
Like your life. That's for starters.
Grandparents, yeah, something.
Yeah.
Parents.
But what's happening now? This is eating away at me too, because we're just waiting for the win.
I like the waiting though now because he's making him twist in the wind. He's got to sleep on it another night.
Well, I think they know from their internal polling what's going to go on.
Yeah.
You think he'll give him a call, Alex, and say congratulations?
Look,
or
why
no
are you
way?
why are you trying to stop voting? What do you call it? Tabulating in these various states. If you think you're winning,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
you're trying to
he's a
stop it
whiner.
because
It's like stopping a baseball game in the seventh inning.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
you
ahead.
lose
Awarding the
in the
winner
ninth
for
inning, you
that.
say, "Let's go back to the seventh inning because I
Yeah.
was winning that."
Well,
Yeah.
no, but his whole thing,
know,
it's
what
the
the
same
fuck?
thing. He did it with COVID, where he said, if we do testing, that's why we've got more cases. Well, because we kept counting the votes, I kept getting less. But if we stop the voting, I'll get more.
He's a spoiled brat. That's
I
it.
think
He's a spoiled
that
brat.
speech last night just nailed his coffin. To be honest with you.
Well, if he given
Well,
that,
even conservatives were lambasting him for that.
if
speech.
he had
Yeah.
given a speech
Yep.
like that beforehand, it would have been a trouncing, you know.
Well, and on top of it, I was watching Fox the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Fox the whole time and listened to him sit there and smuggle and whine and all that. And then he came up and did that. And I go, this just made my night. And I said, now I can sleep well. I don't care what it says. I'm waking up happy in the morning. And then all this other shit started happening. And all the colors are changing. And I'm going, ooh, this is fun.
Does anybody else see delicious irony in the fact that Arizona may fuck him after all the years of him putting down John McCain?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they say that's the thing that put the nail in his coffin in Arizona.
Yeah.
You know,
you know what, too?
they loved John McCain. Just loved him.
Yeah.
You
Bad
know?
move.
And here's another question I could give you guys. The virus came back to bit him in the ass because if there was no COVID, he wouldn't have had the mail-ins.
Yep.
He might have had a better chance.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think we found a whole.
Right.
I think the early voting and the mail-in thing is going to become a custom.
Yep.
I think there's no going back on that one. I think we've changed the way we vote, so we're going to have to change the metrics on how. In fact, none of them changed the metrics on how they were campaigning. They should have campaigned for people who were going to vote early. In other words, you know, don't go to these states at the last minute. That's wasting your time because you know.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I did
Yeah,
see
that's true.
yesterday.
'Cause it doesn't pay. You're not going to. You voted. Already.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I did see yesterday is that the paranoia that they put into these people was out there. I had more questions and more people pull me off to the side with their ballots in their hands and they're saying, where is it going to go? What's that blue box? How is it going to get there? They were so paranoid that box was part of the mail. I had people come in with their ballots all wrapped up in an envelope, ready to go and be dropped off. And they would rip open the envelope and say, I want to vote in person. I had one guy that I could not convince to sign the EPB, which was the sign in. You sign in, you get your ballot. We duplicate the ballot, or you go over and use the electronic machine and vote. Then you walk over and you drop it in the box. You take your mail-in ballot home, and I always tell the people you can color it, you can frame it, you can do what you want with it. It's junk now, and they can. You know, that's your ballot is in there. So therefore you cannot duplicate your vote. And this guy would not do that. He wanted to take his ballot that he got in the mail. He wanted to walk it over to the box, put it in there with his ink, with his paper that he put on this thing and put it in the box. And I said, sir, it's not going to count. No, I put my ink on this paper. I said, sir, I'm telling you, it's not going to count. You can do that, but it's not going to work. I made this ballot. I put it in. He was an older fella, and I kept trying to tell him it's not going to work. And he put it in there, and he walked away. And I went, I had to write it up as a problem. Put it in the box. Write it up as a problem. Turn it into the county. You're going to have a dead ballot in there. But that was one.
Was this a ballot this a ballot he made up himself?
No, these are ballots that you get in the mail that you're supposed to do and then put back in the envelope and then send it in or drop it off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was an official ballot, but he took it upon himself. There was no identification on it.
So he just wanted to walk in.
Dropped it into the box.
Oh, without the envelope that you put it in?
Nothing.
Right.
Oh, that's
Here it is. I did it at home, and I'm going to hand it to you.
With nothing. And I kept trying to explain it, but he didn't trust anything.
Why?
Yeah,
why do they have you put an envelope inside an envelope? Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, so your ballot is secret.
Secrecy. Yeah.
Secrecy plus the fact that it proves that when your name is on that envelope, it checks you off the list that you voted.
Yeah.
Then when they take it out, it's a blank piece of paper and they run it through the machine.
Because I was
You've already
thinking,
been checked off as you're voting.
I was thinking of all these people who were tabulating and having to open up the envelope and then open up another envelope and all the time that takes, There
Well,
might
it's
be
actually one envelope. It's just one envelope.
But it's a two-step process. When you mail it in, they take it out of the envelope that you mail it in. Then they have to open the other envelope days later, or even weeks later, to count the votes.
Okay.
We don't do that in California.
Mailing only.
This here is the
Yeah.
envelope.
Yeah.
That's the envelope
Yeah.
that you return it in, and this is the ballot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he took this ballot
Yeah.
and he dropped it into the box, and it was in this envelope.
Mm-hmm.
It was ready to go, and he took it out. And I said, "You need to have it because that's your identification in this envelope,
Mm-hmm.
and it has your name and everything in there." But when you get it, when they take it to the drop-off box, it's got your identification on it, and then they run it through the machine, and then pull this out, and then run this through the machine, and that counts the votes. But this knocks you off the list that you voted.
Yeah.
So that's your checks and balances right there.
Right.
But I don't blame the guy on some level because that's the atmosphere that's been created. You know?
Exactly. And it happened all day, Robert.
Yeah.
It happened all day long. I was constantly asked questions. I had one guy that didn't want to do it, and I finally convinced him, sure, you can take that thing out of the envelope, but he had it all ready to go. He had it signed. It was done perfectly. I said, all you have to do is drop it in the box. But he said, no, but what do you do with that box? I said, I pick it up. We have 2 people that escort it to the county, and it gets opened up under security, and it gets put into, the whole system. That's where it gets counted. We don't put it in the mail. And he says, I don't trust it. And then what did he do? He went through the whole voting process and took the ballot that he printed and put it in the box. The same box that he didn't want to put the envelope in.
Yeah.
But the paranoia that Trump caused hit people. And then I had a lady out there, I explained to her for 15 minutes. She had this scenario. My grandfather was worried that someone came in and told them that he was, that they were them. And they said, because we are not allowed to ask for ID. So you go in and say, I'm John Smith. Okay. We don't particularly, I'm at 12345 Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they sign on 12345 Main Street. They go in and they vote. That checks them off the list. Now, in the meantime, she's filled out her ballot and put it in the mail. It hasn't reached the county office yet. So now she's worried about whether her vote is going to count. It gets canceled out. Well, you can call the office and see if your vote has gotten checked off yet.
Mm-hmm.
And if it has, you can intercept that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a check there. But you have to be paranoid. You can always check your, check your receipt.
Well, I like what Robert says is happening in New Jersey, that you can actually just go online and see that your vote has been tabulated.
Yeah, I've got that. I've got that app too. It's called
yeah.
However, in the case of New Jersey, in many cases, by time it was listed as received, the election was already over. So
Yeah.
in effect, if they didn't get your vote, you were fucked. So if you dropped it in the box, say 5 business days before election day, you might not find out that it had yet to be received, and now it's 2 days after the election, and you're screwed.
But
You
that's
can't
on
do
you.
anything about it. So
That's on
it's
you
got
for
its
waiting so
flaws too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you check
We set 'em
before
in.
the end of the election,
Yeah,
If you check
Jeff.
before the end of the election, they can cancel that out.
Jeff?
They can react.
Yeah, in Connecticut, we sent them in physically, put them in this container, and then I think in 2 days we checked on the internet, and our names were there. That you guys have now voted.
Okay, so I mean, and when you
A
say
no-brainer.
a box, what were these special voting boxes?
Yeah, they were kind of
Yeah,
a metal.
I don't know. I don't think we have those in New York.
Yeah, and I was the last voter. I always make myself the last voter in the county at 8:00 on whatever night, election night. And I put the last one in because I like to be the last one in line. And I did that. And I signed up for that thing, and I went home and I plugged it in, and it was online. It showed me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
In our case, it took too damn long. So they have to refine that in the case of New Jersey.
They also have to refine things here in New York State because the lines were hellishly long. Yes.
Well, we're in an outside county, so it wasn't that bad. But
Charlie,
50% was voted already.
I dropped my mail-in ballot off. I had to drive 50-mile round trip to do it, thanks to Governor Abbott.
Yeah.
But I dropped it off in the mailbox at the voter registrar's office, and I did that on October the 6th. On October the 8th, I could go online and it showed we have received your ballot. On October the 12th, it told me your ballot is valid and your vote will be counted.
Yeah.
And on October the 28th, it told me your vote was counted. Texas started counting before election day, the mail-in ballots.
I take back what I said. In New Jersey, we could look online, and a couple of days later, it said received, but that didn't mean it was approved. The approval didn't come until about 6 or 7 business days later. And so many people probably got caught knowing their ballot was received, but if you had forgotten to sign it, for example, you might have not have known that until the election was over.
That doesn't negate it, though. It suspends it.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, because I had that happen to me last year. It will suspend it, and they'll give you 7 days to get your signature straightened out. And then if you get it back to them, you fax it back to them with the correct signature. Then it'll go through.
I see.
Yeah.
In New York, if you don't sign it, or if it's been thrown out or whatever, they will contact you and tell you it's been thrown out.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity to go to your polling place and vote there. Okay.
Yeah, it's not thrown out. It's suspended. It's kind of held up there, and you can do something about it or let it ride. Let it go.
Yeah. I mean, this year I voted feeling good about voting, but only because I've never felt that great about voting, because I go, hey, here in New York, look, I'm going to vote for Obama. Of course, New York's going to go for Obama. What do I need to vote for? It's a fait accompli. But this year, I just wanted to add to the numbers. That was my form of giving the finger to Trump, and so I felt good doing that. I felt
good working it. I went 4 days. We did 8 to 5, 8 to 6 every day, from Saturday till Tuesday, and then we did 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. It was a long, and every day that we thought was going to be quiet, it was not busy, but it was boom, 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 boom. People.
How many days of early voting did you have?
We went from Halloween, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Okay.
In-person voting.
Yeah.
Did you get paid for it at all?
Yeah.
We had 3 weeks of early voting in Texas.
3 weeks of early voting?
Well, these were official poll centers that were open. The county was open for, I think it was a month. But official poll centers, we opened 4
or you can go
of them.
vote in person. Yeah, we had 3 weeks of that.
Let me ask you this, Charlie.
But there was 4 poll centers.
Let me ask you this. In Texas, do you feel it's slowly going blue?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, while Trump won in Texas, it wasn't an easy win. It wasn't
it was close.
Yeah.
Closer than it's ever been.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
somebody made the point, Charlie, that if Beto had run for the Senate, he may have lifted Biden. Do you agree with that?
I think, I don't know. A lot of Democrats voted, so I don't know.
Well, they say if Mark Kelly it wins, that Biden rode his coattails in Arizona. You know, because
in that sense, yeah.
Because they were going to the polls to vote for Mark, what's his name, and Kelly,
yeah.
and stayed to as long as I'm here. Okay, Democrat, yeah, you know, so that's the reason why they also think he's going to win. Okay,
that was my badass pin they gave us this year.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I like the pin. That was cool.
Captain.
That is nice.
They give us a pin every election. And
Captain Stopper.
Nah, I was looking more at the pin. I don't care about the captain means you take all the shit.
You know, if Trump loses, you know what I'm going to miss about him? Watching him dance. He dances as a white guy. He dances just like a white guy.
Just like a white guy.
Yeah.
You know, I want to share a laugh with you guys. A friend of mine this weekend on Facebook wanted to remind everybody to set the clock back an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he said it was setting the clock back an hour in 2020 is a little like a bonus track on a Yoko Ono album.
What was it? What was it? He did a tweet where he was talking about the polls, and he spelled it Poles.
Yeah, Poles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian got all over him for that. Why are you picking on Polish people?
Yeah, why are you picking on the Polish people? Yeah.
I guess Trump won't tell us his health care plan now.
No.
Well, you know something?
He'll tell the news
that'll be one of the great mysteries of life. Okay, what would his medical plan have been had he told us what it was?
Don't get sick or you're gonna die.
Well, that's probably what his plan is. You know.
Oh, and now COVID's going to go away. Remember, if he's not elected, watch, it's just going to disappear after the election.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this is after the election.
Right, it's supposed to be gone
and today there were
100.
There are 105,000 cases. I don't think it's going to go away.
My excuse around the house lately is like my wife will say, "Honey, could you take out the garbage?" My answer is, "Yeah, as soon as the audit is finished."
Yeah.
Very soon.
By the way,
when the vaccine comes out.
That's right.
They're showing Nevada and they're showing Clark County.
He didn't lose you.
And they said there was a category there of no vote, none of the above. In fact, let me back that up. I just want to see what it said. Come on. Here we go. Here we go. Go back. Come on. I just want.
Come on, Tony. Let your mom talk.
She said, "Did he lose you?"
None of these candidates.
Come on, get her on the camera.
Okay.
We don't believe she's there.
Yeah. Okay.
Get her on the camera.
Here's what.
None of these candidates.
Yeah. Here's what they've got. In Clark County, which is Las Vegas, Biden's at 52.9%, Trump at 45.4%, and then it says none of these candidates 0.8%. I've been arguing about that for years, that we should have that on every ballot.
Yeah.
And I guess that's on the ballot in, I would imagine, in all of Nevada. You know? So anyway, that's what's happening in Clark County.
And then if none of the above gets to a certain percentage, then we should cancel out those two candidates and we have to get two new ones.
That's right. That's what I've been saying.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Then
Get stuff done finally.
Not every state does things the same way, though. In Maine, they've got, you vote for a second choice. Okay, so that if there is if nobody reaches 50%, they go to the second choice and factor them in.
Yeah.
And pick the
Rank
winner.
voting, yeah.
Yeah, rank voting. So I mean, yeah, that was pretty spectacular.
I think they should do that. If they did that, the third parties could get a lot more power then. Because people wouldn't
yes,
be afraid not to
absolutely.
vote for third party.
Absolutely, because if people were to like vote as their second choice, somebody who was the what do you call it, as a second
Libertarian
choice.
or the Green Party.
Yeah.
My favorite part of today was I didn't see a single goddamn political ad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what's back?
And in the mail too.
All the insurance ads.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's that
You're
time.
right.
It's that season. Okay, and since my union screwed me on our stuff, and I have to go get my own insurance, I'm watching those ads now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Joe Namath.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's free.
Like he
Yes,
needs it.
John.
Yeah, Fox News has called Arizona for Biden.
They
you
did.
go.
I think
did
they
that
did.
last
Oh, a
night.
long time.
They've done that for
really?
quite a while.
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did that like at 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's before I went
Yeah.
to
Some
sleep.
crazy
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, that's fucking weird.
Let me see here. We got in Arizona, Biden at 51.8%, Trump at 46.8%. Oh, that's in Maricopa County.
Which is more than half of Arizona.
Yeah, but still, he's at 50.7%, and Trump's at 47.9%. So he's 3% behind. So looks like
what's the
it looks. I
percentage
think
then?
he's going to get Arizona. Okay, I don't think these guys would be calling Arizona if it didn't look like he was going to get Arizona. But that's exactly what Trump called Rupert Murdoch about, to yell and scream. How could you
Yeah.
do that? How could you say that Arizona went blah, 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 blah? And Murdoch told him to fold it 5 ways and put it where the sun don't shine.
Put it with the healthcare plan.
You don't complain to Rupert Murdoch. He doesn't give
Yeah.
a shit. You know? The gall.
And Kanye West says he's looking forward to 2024 already.
Huh.
Oh, really?
Did he concede?
Yeah, he did. And Charlie always said, Charlie, what'd you say?
I don't. What,
No,
about
no,
who's gonna vote for Kanye?
no black people would change their vote, right?
Nope. Now one person that was gonna vote for Biden is gonna change his vote to Kanye.
Well, you know who doesn't come up in any of the tabulations that they put on these shows are the secondary candidates. And, we don't know how Kanye did. We don't know how many votes he got. Hell, there was a time when Alfred E. Newman used to get at least 20,000 votes every election.
I think I voted for him once.
One of my Facebook friends said Kanye got 60,000 votes across the whole country.
Really?
I remember George Wallace got like 20% of the vote in
68, yeah.
68, yeah.
You mean George Wallace, the comedian?
No, George Wallace, the Nazi.
No, my uncle George Wallace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are stupid people out there. Are there? I guess there are people who just go, I don't like any of these people, so I'll just write in Alfred E. Newman. One year I went into this was years ago here in New York. I went into the polling booth, and I guess maybe it was senator, or governor, or something, and I looked at all of them and I said, "Oh, they're fucked." I said, and I voted communist. The communist candidate was on there. I voted communist, and the reason I did was not because I'm a communist, but because to begin with, I'd like to see somebody like that get a vote.
Trying to be changed.
Huh?
Change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm voting for change. Yeah.
You may not like it, but you'll get used to it.
Hey, Alex, you remember Paul Kangas? Does that name ring a bell?
No.
He's some guy in San Francisco that every year he runs for something, if it's not the president or it's like usually a local thing or something,
Mm-hmm.
He's just like a local San Francisco gadfly, but he does all his campaigning all by himself, his campaign signs will be like the bottom of a cardboard box, with a Sharpie vote.
The town
he never gives up. He's always on the ballot.
Yeah.
The town I grew up in and worked in for over 30 years was corrupt politically. And At one point, we actually elected a mayor who was in the federal penitentiary.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'll tell you another
after
thing.
or during.
No, he was already there. And he was very corrupt and very connected. And who was the candidate? It might have been Dukakis. No. It was McGovern. Our mayor was in a penitentiary in Minnesota. And McGovern that year only won Minnesota.
Yeah.
And the running joke was because our mayor made a few phone calls that's why he won. But it's a known fact that more votes go to the person in the old days with the machines on the top line. Like that was the primo place to be, because there are some assholes that just go in and, hit the lever on the top line.
Well, you may notice there is no top line now for president.
Right.
They're side by side. They're side by side. Yeah.
Well, what they used to do is they used to draw ping pong balls to see which candidate got the top line. So the corrupt mayor used to put his ping pong ball in the freezer and put it in the bag so that when they reached in, they would feel the cold one, pull it out, say, "Oh, look, Mayor Musto drew line A again." And he invariably was on the top line every single goddamn election.
Now that's fixing an election, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, now it seems like they just side by side. And if there are 10 of them, they'll put them side by side.
Probably for that reason.
Well, I mean, I don't know why. You're right. People will vote for the first thing on top over the second thing.
Sure.
Boy. Well, who knows? Probably when we do this show tomorrow, we will have a pretty solid idea of who's going to be our next president. I think still we're all sitting here going,
Yeah.
I mean, even though it looks, reasonably, if I had to make a vote, a bet, I would bet on Biden.
Sure. But it could go wrong.
Unless I really wanted to make a lot of money. There was a guy who, in England, who bet $5,000 on Trump. Because the odds were so high that he was going to lose that he figured if he won, he would make, I think they decided he'd make like $20,000. So.
Vegas took more Trump money than Biden money for just that reason.
Really?
Yeah.
So can you assume that if when they go, oh, here are the Vegas odds, blah, 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 that if the Vegas odds are high for a particular person, it's maybe because they believe they're going to lose and that the odds are higher, that they're going to get a better payoff if they win?
Here's my lesson in 1 minute flat. Vegas doesn't set odds based on who they think is going to win. Vegas sets odds based on trying to get an equal amount of money on both sides because they collect the vigorish or the juice in between. They don't care who wins. If they can get $1 million on this side and $1 million on that side, they collect their 10%. They pay off the winners and they're happy.
So are
the odds? They're
constantly changing the odds too, right?
For that reason, in order to attract money on the other side of the bet.
Wow.
But they're not like if they say the 49ers are favored by 6 this weekend, they're not saying they're 6 points better. They're saying, based on that line, we think we can get equal money on both sides because when we do, we collect the commission.
Wow.
That's why they changed the odds.
That's right.
Well, we would have all thought that maybe we'd be sitting here tonight saying, hey, how do you like the fact that so-and-so won? Or how bad do you feel that so-and-so won? But
Tomorrow night will be better.
Not to be. Tomorrow night we may have a better picture of it. They say all this will be solved by Friday.
There's more ballots to be harvested.
I feel a lot better tonight than I did last night.
Put away the razor blade.
Absolutely.
Not just because of the shingles.
Hey, listen, thank you all for being here. Brian, thank you. Where's Adrian tonight? Sleeping?
No, I think she's out. But
okay. She doesn't want to make faces at us. Yes, Charlie, thank you so much for being with us. Robert, good to see you tonight, old friend. Hope you're feeling better.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you, Jeff. Always good having you here. If your face isn't here, it looks empty. John Larkin, thank you. Tony, always thank you. And don't kill your mother tonight. And of course, thanks to Kevin. Kevin, always a pleasure having you here. All of you, give a big wave of goodbye. I'll give a wave of goodbye at you. And that'll be it for our citizen panel tonight. There they go. There'll be another citizen panel coming together here in just a few moments with Jack Bishop. He'll be here with The Intersection. He'll be doing it on Skype. And you can Skype him at Gabnet Live. I'll see you again tomorrow night, 10:30. Same time, same station and lights. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her. And please be safe out there. Wear a mask, will you? Okay? All right.